Alright, so the hell with next week. Let me start my series today for retrograde planets. Now, before we get started, I'm not gonna refer to the series as to the retrogression that happens every year of all these planets, how Mercury goes retrograde literally 3 times a year. No, this retrogression series is only about the retrograde planets that are in your birth chart, because if you are to concentrate on planetary retrogression that happens every year, whether it's Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn, you're gonna drive yourself nuts. And I have done this experiment, you can call. I have done this study myself. That during Mercury retrograde, nothing went wrong for me. There was no miscommunication. There was no hurdles in any kind of communication or speaking ability or contract signing and things going wrong. Now, please stop looking at these things. I can't believe that even Vedic astrologer and Western astrologers, both of them, just induce people into believing that something drastic, something bad is just going to be happening. Be careful. Oh my God. No. Retrogression, first of all, only affects severely to the people who have retrograded planets in their birth chart. So that's what I'm referring this to. Okay? So now that I've gotten this out of my way, let's start with Mercury. So what if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart? What is going on? Well, I'm sure you've heard this many times, but let me just also say this again. Mercury is what? Communication. It's your logical mind. It's your intelligence. It's your way of comprehending things. How you comprehend when somebody says something to you. If somebody writes a fraction on the board, how well are you able to understand your professor in the classroom? That's what Mercury is about. And when Mercury is retrograding, or any planet that retrogrades, it reflects back a lot. It creates confusion. Okay? These people, okay, are always, how we are all reflecting in the future and the past, but people who have retrograde Mercury in their birth chart are always reflecting in the past a lot, and they're using the reflection of the past to go towards the future. Because with the normal person, it's kind of 50-50. We're always thinking about past and future. My ex-girlfriend, my future wife. But these people are literally thinking about, okay, what did I do wrong with my ex-girlfriend? How was I behaving with her? And how can I change this with her? And this is a constant battle with them. So, in the class, when you have to prepare for a test and you're in a study group, and there's one person who has like this huge stack of index cards, and they're looking at it over and over and over again, and where you're just looking at the book, you have flashcards, but what is happening with this person who has his Mercury retrograde, they're trying to be as careful as possible when trying to remember the right answer, because they're so confused and fearful about doing something wrong, whether through communication, whether through logical thinking, whether through calculation. They're always looking back. They're always making sure. So if it's a student with a Mercury retrograde, these guys are the ones who actually get the best score in the class. Why? Because they always are careful about how they're going to answer this question. They're always, like, if somebody's about to give a speech in front of a crowd, and if a person who doesn't have Mercury retrograde, they will revise the speech 3-4 times, might practice in front of the mirror and all that. But people with Mercury retrograde will go really insane in trying to perfect their speech. These people want to make sure they don't say anything stupid, they don't offend anybody, they don't blab out something that doesn't mean anything. So they're always in this constant reflection, in this constant fear that they will do something wrong. That's why it's considered negative, because these people think a lot. They think a lot. They're always judging themselves. Like, okay, I'm about to say something to you. How am I going to say? So they're calculating. So if I ask somebody who has a Mercury retrograde, hey, so I heard you got a job there. How did you get the job? What was the procedure of the interview? Tell me, because I have the same interview there. Now, before they answer, they're going to make sure that, how do I tell them this? What do I tell them? Okay, they'll reflect back to the interview process. Okay, they're going to think about, okay, is this going to hurt my chances? They are always thinking. So when they're communicating, their communication actually becomes fast because they need to answer you right away, but at the same time, they need to think really fast that, okay, what do I do so I don't screw up this communication with this person? And I'm just giving you an example, but that's what happens with people who have Mercury retrograde. They are confused always, but the thing is that I'd rather have your Mercury retrograde than have my thing, going direct, because it makes me very careful. I don't want to say something stupid. I'd rather have this retrogression, so I'm reflecting, I'm studying things 10 times instead of twice, and then going about doing things. So Mercury retrograde is actually a good thing if you know the good side of Mercury retrograde. Otherwise, Mercury retrograde is always creating a confusion in a person because they're always thinking about the past, and they're always judging the present with the past. They're judging the future with the past really severely, even though we all do that. Now, how do you judge this particular Mercury retrograde in your own birth chart? So let's say if you are watching this and you know your Mercury is retrograde in your birth chart, well, how do you really see how is the chart really connecting with you? Well, look what house Mercury is retrograding. Okay, if it's the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, whatever house it is, and then you see that, do I really concentrate on that aspect of my chart? And is that really where I want to be very careful? Okay, so let's say if your Mercury is retrograding in the fifth house. Fifth house is of children, creativity, speculative business, and if Mercury is retrograde there, these people are very careful about their children. They're very careful about the communication with the children. They actually make good parents in that, because they're very sensitive to what they're about to say to their kids, how they're about to behave with their kids, how their logical mind wants to connect with the kids. If a Mercury is retrograde in the seventh house, you're gonna have you yourself is going to be very careful in communicating with your wife or husband. You're going to be very careful about your business partnership, how you relate to them, how you communicate with them. So people with this retrograde planet tend to be quiet. They're not really quiet, but they don't just blab things out. So if your wife is cooking and she has a Mercury retrograde and she's thinking about, telling you about to go to a vacation, she's going to be very careful, very calm, very practical and logical when communicating with you. And hey, hon, I want to go to a vacation. They will not just, hey, let's go to vacation. You're about to get a 1 week off. I'm about to get a blah blah blah. No, they're very calm. They're very they're very very elegant in their communication, because of the fact they think so much about what they're about to say to the other person. Okay, so this was Mercury retrograde analysis. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above, because I'm going to be doing more of these retrogression. And if you want to know more about astrology, check out the link below. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow with another, I don't know what I'm going to see you guys with. Maybe it's another retrogression planet, maybe it's astrology foods, maybe it's something else, maybe it's blah and blah and blah and blah. See ya!